Today, we are talking about OpenAI's new model, GPT 5.2, and why this model is actually a big practical upgrade, not just a small number change. Many people think new models only mean slightly smarter answers, but these charts show something deeper. Better long context memory, stronger reasoning, better tool usage, and far more reliable performance in real-world work. I'll explain everything in very simple language, so even beginners can understand. Let's start with what GPT 5.2 actually is. GPT 5.2 is a thinking model, meaning it is designed to reason step by step internally before answering. This makes it much better for tasks like coding, research, math, data analysis, planning, reading long documents, and understanding complex screenshots or charts. Compared to GPT 5.1, GPT 5.2 is not just faster or bigger. It is more stable and more accurate when tasks get difficult. Now let's talk about long context performance, which is one of the most important improvements. In the MRCRV2 benchmarks shown in the images, GPT 5.2 is tested on finding important information hidden inside very long text, sometimes 128,000 or even 256,000 tokens, which is like reading multiple books at once. What we see clearly is that GPT 5.2 keeps a very high accuracy even as the input gets larger, while GPT 5.1's accuracy drops sharply. This means GPT 5.2 can read long PDFs, legal documents, research papers, or financial files without forgetting key details halfway through. In simple words, GPT 5.2 has a much stronger memory over long conversations and documents. GPT 5.1 starts strong at small sizes like 8K or 32K tokens, but when you push it to 128K or 256K tokens, it loses track. GPT 5.2 stays consistent. This is extremely useful for students, researchers, lawyers, analysts, and anyone working with large files. Next, let's talk about reasoning benchmarks, where GPT 5.2 really shines. In tests like GPQA Diamond, AMY 2025, ARC-AGI, and Frontier Math, GPT 5.2 consistently scores higher than GPT 5.1. For example, in competition-level math like AMY, GPT 5.2 hits 100% accuracy, while GPT 5.1 stays slightly lower. This tells us that GPT 5.2 is not guessing. It is logically solving problems more reliably. Another very important benchmark is Charshiv reasoning, which tests whether the model can understand scientific figures, graphs, and diagrams. According to the chart, GPT 5.2 performs much better than GPT 5.1. This means if you show it a research paper image, physics diagram, or data chart, GPT 5.2 can actually understand what's happening, not just describe it vaguely. Now let's move to real-world business tasks, especially customer support and tool usage. In the Tau2 bench telecom and retail tests, GPT 5.2 with high thinking mode reaches around 98% accuracy, which is extremely high. GPT 5.1 is also good, but consistently lower. What this means is that GPT 5.2 is far better at using tools correctly, like APIs, databases, forms, or internal systems without making mistakes. This is huge for companies. It means GPT 5.2 can act like a reliable customer support agent, handling billing issues, troubleshooting, order tracking, and technical queries with fewer errors. GPT 5.1 sometimes struggles when tasks require multiple steps or switching between tools. GPT 5.2 handles this much more smoothly. Another powerful improvement is GUI and screenshot understanding, shown in the ScreenSpot Pro benchmark. GPT 5.2 scores around 86%, while GPT 5.1 is much lower. This means GPT 5.2 can understand screenshots of apps, websites, dashboards, Excel sheets, or software interfaces. For example, you can show it a complex Excel budget sheet or a project timeline screenshot, and GPT 5.2 can explain what's going on or tell you what to do next. This makes GPT 5.2 extremely useful for non-coders, beginners, managers, and students, especially those who work visually instead of writing code. Now let's clearly talk about the differences between GPT 5.2 and GPT 5.1 in simple terms. GPT 5.2 is better at long memory, deeper reasoning, scientific understanding, tool usage, and real-world reliability. GPT 5.1 is still good, but it is more likely to lose accuracy when tasks become long, complex, or multi-step. However, no model is perfect, so let's also talk about the cons of GPT 5.2. First, GPT 5.2 is more computationally expensive, meaning it may be slower or cost more when used at full thinking power. Second, because it reasons deeply, it may sometimes feel slower for very simple questions where GPT-4 or GPT 5.1 would be enough. Third, like all AI models, it can still make mistakes if the input is unclear or misleading. Another small downside is that not everyone needs GPT 5.2. If your work is basic chatting, casual writing, or simple Q&A, GPT 5.1 or even GPT 4.1 is often enough. GPT 5.2 is best when tasks are serious, long, technical, or professional. Now let's summarize who should use GPT 5.2. If you are a student doing research, a coder working on complex systems, a data analyst, a startup founder, a customer support manager, or someone dealing with long documents and real workflows, GPT 5.2 is absolutely worth it. If you are learning AI, this model shows what next-generation reasoning looks like. To conclude, GPT 5.2 is not just slightly smarter. It represents a shift toward AI that can think, remember, and act more like a reliable assistant instead of just a chatbot. The charts clearly prove that GPT 5.2 is stronger than GPT 5.1 in almost every serious benchmark that matters in real life.